Hey everybody, Troy St. George with CW Title again, giving you some tidbits on title insurance. And this session is going to be in regards to probate, lack of probate, and how we deal with deceased parties in title. Not always the easiest topic to discuss because obviously, as you can well imagine, when people pass away, there's a lot of emotion involved. And so when we deal with these, we deal with them with great client care. But there's also some insurability issues that we need to make sure that we're tackling to make sure that our buyer has good, clear title. The difference between what's legal and what's insurable are oftentimes different, and we'll explore some of those. In the world of probate is a superior court action where its intent is not to prove that the will being probated is the last will and testament, but that it is going to be the will and testament used to distribute the deceased party's estate. There are two types of probate. There is a testate probate, that is one where there is actually a written will, and there is an intestate probate where there is not a written will. In an intestate probate, which is obviously much less frequent, the court and the attorney for the estate and the estate heirs receive affidavits and witnesses as to where they think those probate assets should go in lieu of a written document by the deceased party. In a testate probate, there is a will. And as you can imagine from, I say even going back a ways when somebody says the will is being contested, it's because some party doesn't believe that the terms of that will should be utilized to distribute the net assets of the estate. So when we see a probate in the Superior Court, we have a letters testamentary which says that the party is appointed as the personal representative or parties as the personal representatives. We have an order of solvency which says that the estate has enough assets to be able to pay for those. And those are generally the two things that we need to see to make sure that the personal representative or personal representatives are actually the ones authorized by the court. Now, title companies love probates. Why? Because we're ensuring that the person who is signing the document to those buyers is the full 100% fee simple owner. And we have a court order that's telling us that that person or persons are authorized on behalf of the estate to sell that property. Now, probates take time. Probates can take money. Not everybody has one or both of these things. And so a long time ago, pre me even getting into the title industry, in the more urban areas of our state, title companies got together and said, okay, how are we going to not require a probate on every time that a person passes away and is deceased when they're in title? So we came up with this fancy name called the lack of probate method, and we came up with a fancy name for an affidavit, which was called the lack of probate affidavit. And so in essence, what we're doing in the lack of probate method is, in lieu of a probate, we're having all of the intestate heirs sign off on the deed and share net proceeds. So if a husband and wife are in title, wife or husband passes away, the property transfers to the wife via community property. At that point, then any of their children that they had, say they have 3 children, the 3 children sign off on the deed as the sole heirs of the estate of mom. It's pretty clean, it's pretty easy, and they all 3 take the net proceeds and off they go. Now, you might say, what if somebody lies to you, Troy? Well, we don't like that. That's called insurance fraud, and it has happened a few times over the years. We had one where 3 brothers were the heirs of the estate, but 2 of the brothers completed said lack of probate affidavit and didn't include the 3rd one. So we insured the sale, closed it with our buyers having 100% fee simple ownership, and the 3rd brother actually drove by the house about a month later and was like, wait a minute, who's living in my dad's house? It was quite peculiar. And nobody ever in the title insurance industry wants to get a phone call like that. So when I got that phone call, we went back, traced it back to the 2 brothers who had erroneously completed the affidavit. We asked them why they didn't include the 3rd brother, and they said, well, we didn't think he'd want to sell the house. Well, that's the whole point of us getting the accurate information to make sure, because that brother still had a 1/3 interest in in that property. Our buyer only owned a 2/3 interest in that. So when we heard that information, we went to the third brother. The third brother fully agreed to execute a new deed. Also, we received the net sale proceeds from the other two brothers, received those back into escrow, and did a full disbursement to all three of them. They did this very voluntarily after it was potentially put out there that they had committed insurance fraud. So generally speaking, that's not something that we're dealing with. The three siblings come together, have lunch, sign the documents, get their net proceeds, and off they go without requiring the nature of a probate to clear up their parents or their deceased parents' interests. So we don't ever want to say that we would have people commit insurance fraud, but we have the parties submit to us a death certificate. We need to make absolutely certain that the parties are deceased. We need to make sure that there are not going to be any last illness or estate taxes potentially owing. So the affidavit asks for value of the estate, etc. So there's multiple things that we're looking for. We created it. If we don't feel comfortable doing it and insuring it through a lack of probate, then we'll disclose that we would need to have a probate proceedings done to have the court make the determination if the parties can't agree. Generally that doesn't happen, but is something that can take place if in fact we have battling siblings. And we actually had one recently where the three siblings would not agree on net sale disbursement. One of them didn't want to even sign the deed. They wanted to retain the parents' house for themselves. And at that point we said we can't do a lack of probate because we don't have all of the parties signing that. So keep that in mind as we deal with it in our title and our escrow closing. We will be working with you, working with your clients to make sure that we can find the easiest, simplest, and safest way to make sure that we're passing title out of a deceased party in title.